and welcome to the United Community channel. My name is Jack, and this is our latest episode of the United Community podcast. Plenty to talk about, as always. Loads of Manchester United news to get into. We'll dissect a little bit about the United versus Everton game as well. We'll talk a little bit about transfers. Of course, we're going to talk about the title race as well. Obviously, huge game with City and Liverpool yesterday. And we'll talk a little bit about relegation as well. Ricey is back with us as always. How we doing, man?
All good, Jack. All good.
Happy days. Happy days. Let's dive straight into it. Man United, obviously, is where we always start. I suppose a good result, but not a good performance, you would say, against Everton 2-0 on the weekend. I ask you the same question as always from the outside looking in as a non-United fan. What did you make of it?
Yeah, look, I think you kind of summed it up in that first sentence there yourself. From my opinion anyway, was good result, not good performance. You'll take a 2-0 win any day in the Premier League, especially at home. Well, I don't mean especially at home, but Everton have proved a tricky side in recent games for many teams. So you will take it and run. But again, it was a lackluster performance overall. Everton dominated possession spells. I won't say dominated United, more so that United, I felt, gave up a lot of possession stupidly. They squandered a lot of passes. They gave away. It was just a real lackluster performance. It was a dead performance, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Look,
and United was so sloppy in possession.
Can't argue 2 Stonewall penalties.
Yeah.
Like, especially the second one. Why did he even make that tackle? First one, Tarkowski, he's getting that bit older. His, like, say, his reflexes or whatever you like to call it, reaction mightn't be as quick. And Garnacho's young new kid on the block, very good. Just kind of got away from me, flicked him. No malice, anything like that in it. But the second one, Garnacho was traveling in at pace. He was looking like he was gliding in. He kind of evaded a couple of challenges on the way, and not even challenges. People kind of almost backed off because he was traveling at pace. And like, I don't know what he was doing.
Well, it's always, I always find when you give a penalty away, like if I ever give a penalty away down through the years, and you can kind of see it as well, you kind of lose all bearing of who's around you. Like, and what I mean is Garnacho was plowing into the box, but he was running into traffic. There was no need to put in a challenge.
Like if you had let him go, there was a chance the ball was nearly gone from him.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't exactly have the ball under full control, but like, any clip when you're traveling in at that pace. And to be fair to him, he was going for, like, he was making his way into that box. He was going for goal. He just seen that space opening up and he ran into it.
Yeah.
So look, credit him. He was kind of probably a shining light. Another shining light was the goal. He was decent again, which is another thing.
Talk to me a little bit about the penalties before we move on. What do you make of 2 different takers for 2 different penalties?
Me, I wasn't actually looking at it live now, so me looking at it on the outside in, I'd say Bruno's like, right, we're 1-0 up. He took the penalty. Second one, he would have full confidence in Rashford. I think he's more thinking, not saying that he handed over to him, but I don't think they begrudge Rashford taking the penalty. Yeah. I think it was like Bruno was always going to take the first there anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally wouldn't. You could look at it in different ways. Like, there's different reasons. Just I'll quickly flick over to another kind of option. Had Liverpool got a penalty late on that game the other day, would Mo Salah have picked up the ball, or would McAllister have taken it? I fully believe that Mo Salah would have been grabbing that ball. I know we're not talking about Liverpool yet, but I'm just saying similar scenario, similar enough scenario.
Yeah, I just think it just goes to show the unorganization of United.
Well, I think you have a penalty taker, and if the penalty taker's on the pitch, they take the penalty. And personally, I think whether it's 1-0 or 5-0, at junior football level, I'd be telling my penalty taker to take the penalty, unless you're a couple of goals to the good and you have a striker who may not be in form, or a striker like that. If they miss, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
not. Although Rashford is a very good penalty taker, so
yeah. But you know what annoys me about it a little bit is that, and it's after happening a couple of times with Bruno handing the ball to Rashford when he hasn't maybe been on form or hasn't scored in a few weeks or whatever, and it seems to be kind of, here's a little morale boost for you.
Yeah,
I just don't like it. You know what I
with
mean?
a 20k goal bonus.
Exactly. Yeah. Split that down the middle there with me. You know what I mean? But a little bit about United, and I agree with you. Both penalties were Stonewall penalties. But looking back on it from the end of the game, I mean, if United hadn't have got them penalties, where would the bloody goals have come from?
I don't know.
We're missing Rasmus Højlund an awful lot, even though the kid is only 21 years of age.
You are missing him a lot up that end. Also down the other, I think Johnny Evans had a decent game, kind of reeling in the years. He's, to be fair to him, for a 35, 36-year-old, he's looking like just an astute signing. Like, it was a good bit of business, because I don't know, I'm not saying he's holding it together, but he's playing a lot more minutes than you would have thought at the start of the season.
Yeah. I
just want to go on to one point there, Jack, that's the 5th game in 6 that United have conceded 20 plus shots. Not shots on target now, but that's shots. I know anybody can take a shot from anywhere and it's going down on the stat board as a shot, but people are getting into these positions to shoot. And I'm putting a lot of that blame down on Manchester United's midfield, because you can't necessarily blame defenders for shots, because they're the ones making the blocks, or they're the ones trying to push the strikers out so that they don't have a good angle to shoot. But a lot of this is coming through from midfield. 23, Everton had 23 shots. If you played any better of a team last weekend, I personally think that you were in big bother.
Yeah, no.
Like Everton, if you look, I was looking at this Everton team. This Everton team has a smell of championship written all over it. Like, it's just, there's so many teams in the Premier League this year that are blessed that the bottom 3 are dirt. And I say that with a heavy heart, that I like Luton, but like, they're just, the 3 teams are just so far below everybody else. Like, you look there, like Godfrey, Tarkowski, Brantwaite, I don't know how you and Mikalenko, McNeil, brutal. Harrison was decent with Leeds. He's still only a young lad, whipped after 60 minutes, don't rate much of him. That Garner, is that Joey Garner? He used to play with United.
James Garner.
Onana. Decore had a decent career. I think he was with Watford before, had a few good years. That lad, Beto, wouldn't hit a barn door. Like, he played a bad team.
Yeah.
What do you think? He played a bad, like...
Yeah,
he still came out with the win, so I'm not having pops.
Well,
I'm just saying, to get to where you are, there's no point in being like, look, you won 2-0, you kept a clean sheet, which is it's good going forward. You got your 3 points on the board. Take it, run, move on to the next game. No big injuries. But like, in Old Trafford, these are teams you should be dominating.
Yeah. And I think now, look, I don't want to be making the same excuse of injuries, but obviously injuries do have an awful lot to.
And look, but to any fan, whether they're rivals of United or anything, nobody can doubt that, because the board is there with the 10, 11 players who are injured on it, albeit they're not all world-class players. They're still options.
Yeah, and I think Ten Hag has kind of fallen. I won't say fallen, but I think he's kind of come to the conclusion that he will pick up 3 points now, however he fucking can, between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
And it might not be pretty, you know what I mean? And I know it's probably not the best idea from him, but because by all accounts he's fighting for his job between now and the end of the season.
And I looked at his interview after the match, and like, I don't know if you know a lot more about Manchester United than I do, but after the interview, I actually don't know, will Ten Hag be there next year? Just Ten Hag comes out and he said, like, it was a great performance, and he's kind of thrown out praise. I know he's trying to get the morale up, but like, you can't be like mollycoddling these lads and saying, oh, great performance. Bruno actually came out just after him and said we played very poorly.
Yeah.
But like, Ten Hag, every week Ten Hag seems to say we played well, we played great. Even when they lose, he's saying they played well. Like, I don't know if he has. We know he has that bit of bite in him, because he's went through so many things in the past with various different players while since being at United. Maybe he's getting tired, you know. Like,
maybe he wants out himself.
Yeah, I'm not saying wants out, but like this, it's a very strenuous job, and I think it would take a lot from you as a person. Energy, it'd be just draining. But like, he seems to be always singing the same tune. We played very well, whether you kind of lose or win. And look, you'll take it. It's a decent win, 2-0 at home to Everton. You would have taken it before the match, but I don't think he should be just constantly. There has to be a bit more bite to it, I think, anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It can't be. He seems to be the kind of. He seems to be just a broken record an awful lot of the time, saying the same things after interviews or after games, and But again, I mean, I think this squad and a lot of the players that within it are so bloody fragile. I mean, we see what happened when he answered a simple question about why Jadon Sancho wasn't in the squad because he didn't train well this week, and now all of a sudden, his career at Manchester United looks.
I know, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not saying he's treading on eggshells, but like he's probably thinking in his head, "Oh, for feck's sake, like I don't want to lose another player to fall out of me," like because. At the end of the day, there's only so many players you can fall out with before people start saying, geez, the manager's falling out with a lot of players. Personally, I don't think Casemiro played well the other day.
No, he was terrible. It was one of the worst performances he's put in.
But he's never going to come out and say, oh, look, we weren't great in midfield and all this. Because Casemiro, who's 5-time Champions League winner, all this different thing, he'd be like, who's this lad think he is to have pops off me in midfield and we after winning 2-0?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I would say about the win was, like, whatever about the lack of goals or the lack of goal threat that we had, when we did go 2 goals up, and I've been asking for this an awful lot, in my match reviews and all of that we need to control games better, and dictate the tempo and dictate the possession and so on. I know obviously we probably didn't have an awful lot of the possession, or we didn't have the majority of the possession, but we absolutely, I think, controlled the tempo of the game. Once we went 2 goals up, we just slowed it down, passed it backwards, passed it sideways, kept possession as much as possible, and tried to maybe, hit them on the break.
He did, but that's really, it is a positive, but that's also the minimum a team that will call you a top 4, top 5 team, because that's where your aspirations are to be. But you're playing like a bottom 5 team realistically, like that. That's kind of a minimum requirement that you should be able to see out a match like that. But I take your point. It's a positive that you did do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a positive that you did do it.
What I was worried about when we went 2 goals up, I was saying to myself, we'd probably just go gung-ho now and get caught in the attack. And then, if they get 1 goal back, it's 2-1. And we know the mentality of this squad is not great and they'll shit the bed and so on and so forth. But so, like, that's the one positive I would take out of the game, is actually controlling and seeing the game out, which is something we haven't been doing this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see what people are saying here. Neverworld says you can't be bad-mouthing your players to the media. That doesn't work managing the modern footballer. I understand that 100%. I don't think we're really talking about bad-mouthing players. I think we're just kind of, there's different ways of riling.
I know, and I stated that. I stated not going to have come out having pops off players, and as well, I think that's a valid point because Ten Hag is kind of thinking the same thing. But I'm also saying, the point I'm putting across is, don't be coming out just bigging up things every week.
Yeah.
Like,
trying to
when you win or lose, it always seems to be, when you win or lose, he's always saying they played well. They lose, he's like, we still played well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Neverworld says Casemiro was all right defensively, but his best years are past him. The legs aren't there anymore. Well, I want to bring it on to
wait, just on that point there, Casemiro was decent defensively, but Casemiro gave away possession 17 times.
Yeah, that's
17 times he handed the ball back to Everton.
Yeah, and I think there was one stage there in this, literally in the space of 15 seconds, he gave it away 4 times.
Like 17 times. And what Neverworld is saying there, I take his point that his best years are behind him. But like, game management, just
from an experienced player.
Turn around. He doesn't have to make that pass every time. Turn around, back to your goalie, just retain possession, keep it, hold on to it. But 17 times to lose possession, that's a big number.
Yeah, absolutely. Reports are suggesting that we could be in for a replacement for Casemiro. Let me how do I get all of us up on the screen? There we go, like that. Now, Fabrizio Romano has been talking about it as well. United are looking to approve a record-breaking offer of 102 million for Joao Neves. Now, this guy is absolutely tearing it up for Benfica. 19 years of age, playing in the CDM role. Supposedly the next Rodri.
And had you heard of him before 2 days ago?
Yeah. Oh yeah. United have been linked with him now. United were linked with him last year as well. He's been on the radar for a while now, but he hasn't played an awful lot. I think this is his first established season in the first team. Last year he was kind of in and out a little bit. I think he's only played maybe 60 first team games, but supposedly he's unbelievable.
60 first team games. What age did you say he was?
19.
Yeah. 60. I'm just looking him up here. 27th of September. 27th of September, 2 days before my birthday. He's only 19. That's a good number of appearances, Jack. 63 appearances in a league appearances.
And
maybe that's all appearances. At 19 years of age, that's a big number there.
Yeah, answer this one for me then. If you were to bring in a young lad like him, now he's ready to step in and probably play in that CDM role for United, I would say, and I think, if United were to go and pay that amount of money for him, would you keep Casemiro for another 12 months as a kind of a rotational player if he was happy with doing that? Or,
No, personally, I think, no. I don't know what Manchester United fans think. Maybe they have a kind of love for Casemiro. I know he's a very likable fella. And I do personally like Casemiro, and he's had an unbelievable career, but I don't think he need carrying kind of, I'm not saying dead weight around. I know what you mean, his experience and all that. But he's on a jolly up now at the minute. He's halfway to retirement, taking in a nice wage.
Yeah,
I don't think it was a bad signing overall, because I think when he did come in,
I don't think the financials were good, but I think actually going and getting him, he was a good.
As well as anything, it gave all the fans a boost. It gave things a boost. When he came in, his first 6 months, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just Father Time catches up on everybody, and you can kind of see it there the other day.
Well, the one thing I would say about Casemiro moving on is that there's been talks of Saudi coming in with a 50 to 60 million bid for him. I think.
Well, you think.
Oh no. Look, you do take it, because if you're going to be spending 102 million on a Joao Neves, and you could get 50 or 60 million,
if you were getting half the money for this Joao Neves, and if he's as good as you think he is, geez, it'd be a no-brainer to do that. But then again, is Joao Neves coming in as someone you're blooding in, or is he coming in and playing 30 games for you, starting in the Premier League next season next to Kobe Mainoo?
Well, if you're getting rid of Casemiro, this guy has to take over, because we don't have anyone else for that CDM role.
So you're going to have, in a three in midfield, himself and Kobe Mainoo will probably be two of a three.
Yeah, alongside maybe Fernandes.
To be 20-odd years old.
Yeah.
That's
my point about maybe keeping Casemiro for another 12 months.
I know, but I don't really see what keeping the benefits of keeping Casemiro on that kind of money to be a lad in a training ground, because I don't know how many games Casemiro will play for you next season.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, the United really, really do lack depth in the squad, So if you're going to be bringing in the young lad, I don't think it would be a bad idea if we kept Casemiro for another 12 months. However, if we did let him go and got 50 million in for him, I'd be saying, yeah, Grant, let's move on.
I'd be surprised if you even got that money for him, to be honest. The only place you'd be getting that is Saudi anyway.
Yeah, well, they're the only ones that are really talking about coming in and looking for him.
How long has he left on? What is he, a year left?
He's got 2 years left, I think.
2 years. Big, dirty, 250 grand a week contract, 4 years.
Paid 60 million for him, give him 250 grand a week on a 5-year deal. You know what I mean? When he was 30. It's just crazy negotiating. But I want to talk a little bit as well, Ricey, about left back at United, because obviously we've been looking at, obviously we're going into a big game on the weekend against Liverpool, and we haven't really got an established left back. Luke Shaw and Malacia are injured. And
I feel
was talking today about United actually will be going into the market in the summer for a left back. It's one of the priority areas for them. What do you make of the whole situation?
I feel for Ten Hag. I feel for Ten Hag in this situation. I just seen on Twitter the other day. I was just scrolling and just came across an article, and Ten Hag was talking. Well, I didn't see him talking. I was just reading an interview that he had done, and he said they interviewed him. They said, "How did you let Reguilon go?" And he said, "I was assured by our medical team." So this is also like a serious lack of communication about a multi-billion-pound company, if you would call United that.
Yeah.
That like a medical team assures the management team that two players are near in return. One of them is only a week or two away, and the other will be back next month. So he lets his only other option.
Luke Shaw got injured after Reguilon was sent back.
Yeah, his only. But you're also thinking like Luke Shaw's made of breadsticks.
I know.
You know, like, and I felt for Ten Hag then, because I was even just imagining what way he was talking in his head just seemed dejected, because he was probably like, I fucking knew this question was coming. Like, you know, it looks very. And Reguilon was playing a few games before United. He was doing all right. Yeah. He was doing all right, but it's a naturally sighted, left-footed player who has experience. He didn't have to. It wasn't going to break the bank to keep him. Now, I don't know. Maybe he was pushing to get back, saying, I want to be playing the whole time, which I don't know if was the case or not. But I did feel for Ten Hag there when he said, I was assured by the medical team the lads were nearly back. Whatever, poor Shaw then gets injured again. I don't know what the story is with Malacia. Like, he must have definitely just must have diagnosed him incorrectly or something.
I seen a lad a podcast talking about they were saying they think Malacia is in prison because no one has seen him got injured in pre-season.
I seen that, and they said that United never put photos up of him. They never talk about him. They never. But this is what you get. Like, this is the problem these days. You can't buy players anymore for 10 million, 12 million. Everything has to be, even with this Neves, Joao Neves. It's mad that a young lad comes through, 19 years old, has a few good games, or has a decent period of time in a Portuguese league, has a cool name and a nice haircut, and suddenly, bang, 100 million is just thrown him. Why is the 100 million always thrown out there?
Well, that's his release clause.
Yeah, like, there's mad figures. And we've had this talk plenty of times on the pod before. Like, is it ever going to improve? Where does it stop? Like, you got Malacia, I think, for 12 million. That's pennies these days. Like, they're probably, like, you'd be thinking, bum, who are we signing for 12 million? Like, what's this guy going to offer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. Before we move on for United, I want to talk just a small bit about Mason Greenwood. Only in the past few hours, Manchester United sporting directors John Murtagh and the negotiations director Matt Hargreaves have been spotted meeting with Barcelona's sporting director Deco. Supposedly, they're talking about Mason Greenwood. United are supposedly interested in a couple of Barcelona's academy players as maybe a swap deal there or whatever it may be. But what do you make of the whole Mason Greenwood situation? Do you think it's time maybe to move him on? Obviously, we know the quality.
It's a very difficult situation, and I think he is a fine footballer. Thought he was a fine footballer when he was at United. Didn't know what he was going to be like when he came back, but he's taken La Liga in his stride. I won't say he's absolutely ripped it up. He has had a handful of unbelievable appearances, and his goal and assist tally is looking decent. I think the last time I checked, he was on 5 and 5, and that was 5 or 6 weeks ago. I haven't seen much of him since, but I don't avidly follow La Liga now. I'd be kind of seeing just what's on Twitter coming up about him.
Yeah,
it's a very difficult situation for Manchester United, because every Manchester United fan, I'm not saying they'd love to have Mason Greenwood at the club, but they would love to have a player of his quality at the club. Also left-footed, which makes him that slight bit rarer. Like a left-footed player, he's well able to play off that right cut in. He's not afraid to take players on. He has that kind of mean streak in him. Like, it's tough for Manchester United because he was brought up. He was fully through the academy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And like they put so many years into him. It's nearly more of a kick in the stones now that he's back with his missus and that everything is okay on their end. But as an outsider looking in, Manchester United can be a circus at the best of times because the media do love to hate on him. What do they say? Hate, adored, but never ignored. If United were even to come out and release a press conference saying they were thinking of bringing him back, I think it would set United back 20 steps.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because everybody will go on to him. The women's team will be saying, we're not playing for the women's team. We're pulling, like the media be all over him. It'd be just, the media would be rubbing their hands.
Oh,
he would
100%.
get endless stick from the stands. Like, he's doing well in Spain. His best option would be now to stay out there in the limelight. He's still only a chap. He's still only 22, maybe. Is he 23 even? 22, maybe 23. Like, I don't think he has any future in an England team anyway.
No.
You even see the way that little reaction. Nobody really knows what was said between him and Bellingham, but Bellingham's a star boy for England for the next 10 years anyway.
Yeah.
And they had a little interaction there.
He got away with it over in La Liga as well. They gave him a slap on the wrist. He didn't even get a suspension over it.
Yeah, I do believe that Greenwood came out and said he didn't want any charges pressed.
Right, okay.
Which I'd say Greenwood is just like, oh, lads, like, don't be pressing charges. Like, I just don't want any. I just don't want that. And forget what he said. Look,
I just want to move on.
I'd say he's like, why is this coming up again?
Yeah.
But look, if you could get a couple of Barca youngsters, it might be a decent deal. Barcelona aren't the dog they were, I don't think. I was looking at their team the other day. Your man, that Christensen, that played centre half for Chelsea there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
He's playing centre mid from. Barcelona team is rotten looking.
Rotten. Yeah, like
I don't even actually.
They would Leeds and
they're doing poorly enough by their standards in La Liga, as in like they're 10, 15 points behind Real Madrid. But shows, I think, how poor La Liga is that they're still third in the league.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at their team, Jack, if you look it up, the Barcelona squad is not like. Main players, Lewandowski up top, 36 or 37 years old. They're not.
And Xavi is leaving at the end of the season then as well,
Yeah, that's sort of, he's leaving. And look, he did all right there, but he couldn't even sign players. Like, they have Rafinha there that was with Leeds United. He's starting every game too. They've that young boy now, Yamal or something. He seems to be very good. He was playing with him when he was 16. He's 17 now. He seems to be starting a lot of games. But that kind of, I think Madrid will only go from strength to strength, especially this summer. They'll pick up Mbappe. They'll kind of dominate. But these do go in roundabouts. Barcelona will come back eventually. Yeah, they're not going brutal or anything. They just
It comes in cycles, in fairness. But anyway, look, let's move it on from Man United and we'll talk a little bit about the title race. Obviously, massive game yesterday. Liverpool versus Man City, 1-1 and finished. I thought it was a really good. Now, I only seen small little bits of the first half, but second half I thought was brilliant. And I think Liverpool probably deserved to come away with the 3 points if I was being pressed on it.
Yeah, if Liverpool took their chances, they had a good few chances. Luis Diaz, who, don't get me wrong, was exceptional throughout the game. If he had a small bit more composure, he was guaranteed 2 goals. He had 2 great chances, one unbelievable chance. Liverpool will definitely be coming out of that with a bit of swag, and Man City will definitely be coming out with a bit of, geez, we got off the hook there. And it could come down to this game. I was watching the game with a couple of my mates, a few big Liverpool fans, and not that they were worried, but like, if you looked at them 2 teams on paper, like Liverpool, I won't say a second string team out, but they had 4 or 5 players starting that aren't first team regulars.
Yeah,
maybe they are in recent times because they have their few injury problems too. But Klopp brings to Liverpool what no other manager brings to any team in the Premier League. And that is like fight and just don't stop running, never give up. Them players, there was one time Luis Diaz caught the ball on the halfway line and he was running with Kyle Walker and I think it was Rodri, and he turned the 2 of them inside out twice and then nearly left Walker on his arse on the end line. Didn't leave him on his arse, but like, it was an exceptional bit of skill. Man City didn't have their best of days, and Phil Foden was kept quiet.
Erling Haaland as well.
Erling Haaland was essentially anonymous, but then stepped up in the last nearly kick of the game and took the ball in and played a lovely little ball down the line where Doku missed a glorious chance. Personally, he hit the post another inch and the ball would have bounced off the post, potentially into the goal. Caoimhín Kelleher is another lad that has to get credit. He has to be starting for Ireland in the next couple of games. I know.
Does he have to move on from Liverpool, do you think, Ricey?
No, I don't think so.
Do you know? Like, no, just to get regular first-team football. Like, because
he's understudy.
I think he will get into a top 6 side.
He's understudy to, in my opinion, the best goalie in the world. Caoimhín Kelleher is 24 now. He's played and won 2 Carling Cup finals in a row. I know they're not massive trophies, but they're good trophies. It all depends what Alisson has planned for down the line. I can't see Alisson leaving him. Maybe for Caoimhín Kelleher's sake.
32 maybe.
Like, I know it sounds stupid, but it's probably a bold thing to say. Definitely in the Premier League anyway. He's probably the best second choice. He's probably the best second choice keeper in the Premier League, if that makes sense. Just with how he goes about it. He doesn't complain about not playing. He doesn't give out when he comes in. He does a job. He doesn't ever really seem to be injured. And he pulled off some big saves yesterday. One, especially off Phil Foden, came in on his right foot, came out, made himself big. I just think I actually thought it was a very good game to watch. I thought when Man City scored their goal, I thought it was against the run of play. I know a lot of people are kind of saying Liverpool really came into it in the second half, but I thought for the first 20 minutes of the match, it was all Liverpool.
Yeah.
And then that goal was completely against the run of play. Liverpool will have to look at themselves in a way because it was such an easy goal when it's broken down. It was
it's just a training ground. Like he just gets away.
Great goal from Man City. I know it wasn't a big obstruction, but you have to look at it then. Liverpool centre midfielder, his name slips my mind now. Is he Japanese?
No,
Endo got done on a similar thing. Was it a few weeks ago? But that might have been offside as well when he kind of body checked someone that was running through.
Yeah.
And kind of blocked him off. Man City done the same thing yesterday. I don't think it was as obvious or anything, or I don't think it was much of a hindrance. But Liverpool kind of seemed a bit lackluster in trying to get to the ball. And then it was a lovely little finish out of John Stones, who did have a good game himself that day.
Was it a penalty?
Yeah, Jack. Like, that was a penalty. You're like, although he may not have clattered into him, his studs hit his chest. That I couldn't believe how much of a bigger deal wasn't made out of it being a penalty.
Yeah.
If that's outside the box, that's 100% a free all day, every day. I know you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to be giving Liverpool anything. No.
And I've been taking me taking me Man United half. I just don't think there was an awful lot of. I know there
wasn't an awful amount of contact, but the way penalties are given these days, he had his foot up that high. No, but it's if you're following the consistency of what should be out there, that was a penalty.
Yeah, I'm under the. I'm still just annoyed with the game in general at how soft it's gone and what is being given as penalties and that's kind of falling into the same bracket for me. As I don't think there was enough. You know, if
no, he didn't clatter him.
He didn't go in like that on him. You know what I mean?
No, but his studs still touched his chest, which your foot is up 5 foot in the air.
Yeah.
You putting your foot up that high in a box runs the risk of someone running into your foot. And if they run into your foot, it's still a penalty because your foot is up that high, taking it down.
Yeah.
It was kind of a real attacker's. It wasn't even a challenge, defending, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
That's just my 2 cents on that now.
And what way do you think it leaves the league? So obviously Arsenal go top of the table on goal difference, and then you would have to say, advantage to Arsenal. I mean, it's in their hands now, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, but well, technically it's in their hands because if they win every game, they win the league.
Yeah.
And credit to Arsenal. They're a fantastic side. They play some lovely football, and I do like a lot of Arsenal players. They do have a good side, but they just also have a history of not doing well from this position.
Yeah. It's funny how it's flipped. Whereas last season I was saying, nah, they'll bottle it. And you were kind of saying, no, give it time, give him time. And I just have a feeling this season they'll not that they'll go all the way, but I think they'll really, really push this season compared to last year.
Well, they did really push last season, you know. They only tailed off at the end. Yeah. They did fall away, but I think that Liverpool will win it.
Do you think so?
I think Man City, for everything they have, do you know what they looked yesterday? They looked tired.
Yeah.
It was crazy how anonymous Haaland was yesterday.
Yeah, he hasn't come back.
Virgil van Dijk gave an absolute captain's performance yesterday. It was like John Terry-esque of back in the day. He was carrying the ball out. He was up in midfield, playing balls, breaking channels, won every header. He had that look. The young boy in beside him, how do you pronounce his name? Begins with Q.
I'm not too sure.
No, he's only a young lad, and this lad played very well as well. Like they had such a makeshift back four. What's it called? It was left back there.
Kwanzaa. And then Joe Gomez was left back with Conor Bradley.
Conor Bradley had a very good game. He's Northern Irish, played with Ireland underage, but he's like, do you know what, a young lad that's coming through that it's like he's playing every game. That's just his dream to be there, putting in tough tackles, winning headers, no nonsense, getting straight back up and back into position. The one thing you have to give Van Dijk credit for, I know people were saying he was kind of past it and all, is his organisation. They run the risk so much. Like they leave 2-on-2. They don't mind when they're 2-on-2. They're not looking for cover in there. I know they'll catch it out sometimes. But they really, really ran Man City right to the end.
Yeah.
And I think that they'll definitely be coming out of that feeling like they left that behind them.
Yeah. So
I thought it was from
right. Okay.
I just think I think that Klopp factor is such a big thing.
So do you think it was a good idea that he announced he was leaving when he did?
Now I think it looks like a fucking brilliant idea. At the time, I was thinking, what is he doing? Do you know, what a time to announce this. But like, it's like everybody's just buying into it for him.
Yeah, 100%. Top four then. Obviously, Aston Villa played.
Good. That was a good result for United. I know United are still a good bit off, but if United just keep chipping away, at the moment, you're out of that race for top four. But see where you are in 4 games' time.
Yeah.
Like, don't give up all hope. Just keep plugging away. But the thing with United is they'll string them couple of decent results together, and then they'll just, where are they? Sheffield United at home, Liverpool FA Cup, Brentford away, Chelsea away, Liverpool. A few tough games in a row there in that Premier League.
Well, talk to me about the top four. I don't think United will get top four. I think it's too far. We're 8 points behind Villa in 4th, and we're 6 points behind Spurs, who've got a game in hand, so potentially 9 points off. Who do you reckon now? And we're assuming that it's only going to be the top 4. And that if the place is not going to come into play. Who do you reckon out of them 2 will get the 4th spot?
Going on yesterday's or the weekend's performances, Tottenham, 100%. Aston Villa looked tired. They looked leggy. Absolutely crazy tackle out of John McGinn. He's the club captain and he comes in like that. People are saying, oh, there's no red card, like studs weren't up there. That tackle was absolute malice. He was going in not to break a leg. He was going in to just boot him. He booted him and his momentum actually carried him on another 5 or 6 yards before he tumbled over.
Yeah.
Absolute. I know they were 2-0 down. Frustrations are getting high. They have to play Ajax on Thursday night. I don't know how big a squad they have, but they seem to be playing kind of a similar team the whole time. And it's great to see him doing that well. And wouldn't everybody love to see Aston Villa make the top four? I don't, well, bar United because they're ahead of you.
Well, I don't
But
think
I don't,
yeah, like if I was asked between them and Spurs, I would probably say Villa
yeah,
just
like
because they haven't had
Spurs
it
have
before.
been there. Spurs have been there before. Like
Yeah.
I can't remember in my lifetime Villa being there. Or, it'd be great to see them in the Champions League because it'd be just great. Everybody loves an underdog story.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Spurs there for Angie Ball now, because I think when Angie Ball clicks, they play the best football in the Premier League. When it clicks, I'm not saying it clicks every day, but when it does, I think it's the most fluid, stylish football in the Premier League.
It can click for 10 minutes in a game rather than that. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they'll just blow you away.
Like, I know Villa went down to 10 men, but they turned on the afterburners then. They just done that kind of demolition job on him. Van der Ven got injured. He'll be a massive loss depending on how long he's going to be out for, because
that's his second big injury this season, boy.
Yeah, it is. And you'd be like, it shows the kind of standard of defenders in the Premier League this year, that he's having an unbelievable season, and he's a lot to do with Tottenham doing very well.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'd be in the Premier League team of the season so far, because I don't think you can look past Saliba and Van Dijk.
Yeah, but he's missed too much of it as well, though.
Yeah, but everything good that Tottenham have done this season, he's been involved in.
I get you. Yeah, there are better defenders, there are defenders that have had better seasons than him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of showing the standard that is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes to show the quality of a signing that he was. You know what I mean? He was one.
He was. Him and James Maddison were two unbelievable signings for him. When you look back on it, like, what would you think now? Just off topic, would you look back and kind of be like, "Geez, maybe we missed a trick there with not going in for James Maddison"?
Yeah, well, like, I was actually talking about James Maddison because I think they got him for relatively
40.
cheap. I think 40. You know,
which in today's market is
nothing.
Very cheap.
Yeah,
nothing.
Because we were going out and spending 65 on Mason Mount, and I mentioned Maddison an awful lot last summer ago. Why don't we go and get Mount, or why don't we go and get Maddison for 25 million cheaper when we're looking to overhaul the squad, and you need quality and quantity in terms of, transfers. So I think it was a big miss out.
That deal was almost
in for him.
That deal was almost, that was the point I was just about to make. That deal, when it came out, was almost nearly done before anybody knew what happened. It just got released on Sky Sports one day, Tottenham signing Maddison, and people are like, Jesus.
But he has to be up there with one of the signings of the season.
He has. We can do that on a pod. Maybe next week or the week after, when we're talking, we can just talk about the best signing so far. Who's actually turned out to be a decent signing for the price, the high package that they paid from. Well, he's not turning out to be a flop anyways. Havertz is coming into a bit of form. He's scoring some big goals. Like, I know he came with a hefty price tag. I know he hasn't been doing it all season, but he seems to be doing the job that Arteta bought him to do.
Yeah. He's playing that false nine role kind of well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just kind of another, I'm not saying he's a final piece of a jigsaw, but he's just a piece of that jigsaw that has fitted in. I know people throw it around, like, and they say, what do you pay for Mount? 60, 70 million?
65, I think, yeah.
But that's what you have to pay for these players these days. Yeah. Like, and if it comes off, well and good. If it doesn't come off, it's a flop and you're throwing money away. But sure, you can't, it's like buying a new car. You could buy a new car and the car could come with a great reputation, but the engine could blow up on you next week.
Yeah, I guess.
You can be very unlucky with these things.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit before we finish about the relegation battle. Obviously, it's starting to heat up now. Look, I think Sheffield United and Burnley are doomed. I don't see them staying up at all. But obviously, there's one place left then for, to go down, and Luton are in it at the moment on 21 points. They've got a game in hand on Forest, who are 3 points ahead of them, and Everton are only a point ahead of both of them as well. I mean, it's really heating up. Obviously, I think everybody would like to see Luton stay up, the underdog story, and, I think the ground that they've got and so on and so forth. But what way do you see the running for the three of them? Because I think it is between the three of them. Maybe Brentford are probably, they're still in it, but. Well,
Brentford
who do
are
you reckon?
performing well this season anyway, but I do think they should have enough cavalry to stay up anyway. Look, Burnley and Sheffield United, as far as I can remember, I know there was teams there before. I know, say, my team, Sunderland, had a brutal season one year. I think they finished on 20-odd points. Derby County finished on 11, I think, one year, as far as I can remember. But like, as far as I've been following avidly the Premier League, these are the worst two teams that I have ever seen. Like, it's kind of almost madness that Vincent Kompany's job isn't coming into scrutiny. I think that's just because of the stature of who he is. And to be fair, he had such a good season. They were runaway leaders of that championship last season.
Yeah. Does it show inadequacy in his managerial ability that he's not able to adapt and change his tactics for the Premier League, or is he just being too headstrong?
I personally think that a lot of this is down to money and recruitment. Burnley don't have the finances that other teams do. Burnley can't afford to break the bank. Like, if Burnley signed a player for 40 million, that'd be an absolute marquee signing. Sheffield United sold their best two players and bought practically nobody. I see they brought in that boy from loan there from Everton, I think, over in January. But, like, I don't know, there's a massive gulf there. Like, if you go down to the championship, you look at 3 to 4 top teams are the teams that came down last season.
Yeah.
And realistically, if you're talking with your head, you're saying realistically the 3 that came up probably will go down. I know a lot of people, similar to the story of, I would think a lot of people might like to see Villa getting that 4th spot, bar obviously Spurs fans, United fans. But like that, a lot of people would just like to see Luton stay up because of their ground. I think mainly because of their ground, and then kind of the whole situation with Tom Lockyer, their captain this season.
Yeah.
They're just kind of a real rags to riches story. Yeah. And I think they went out and done very well. Like, they kind of done decent business. They bought a few championship players. Like, I wouldn't even say players. Yeah, they brought in Barkley on a free, but they also signed what's it called, from the Irish boy there. They signed him from, was it Rotherham, winger, and he's doing very well with him this season. He's actually a great example. Like, I watched him play about 4 seasons ago, and he was playing Division 1 League of Ireland. Chidozie Ogbene. He had got released from Cork City.
That's right.
He got released from Cork City, and he was playing for Limerick FC in the 1st division against Waterford United down the RSC, and now he's playing the Premier League and scored a few goals in Premier League. Scored a goal against Liverpool and Anfield, who he supports, said it was a dream come true. It just really shows kind of where hard work and determination can get you, as along with obviously having a lot of talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to see them stay up, but I don't know. I think it could be beyond them. What do you think?
Who do you want to see go down? That's probably a better question.
Nottingham Forest. And the thing about this is, when Nottingham Forest were down, I was really wanted Nottingham Forest to come up because they're a massive club steeped in history. I just don't think they offer anything to the Premier League. But there's so many teams there. If I could go through and handpick teams to go down, I'd pick Nottingham Forest, I'd pick Brentford, Bournemouth, Fulham.
Crystal Palace.
I like Palace.
I would like to see Everton go down, to be honest with you. I think they've been flirting with relegation.
Yeah, they have. They're a born old team, but the only thing is, I think they're kind of part of the Premier League. I'd love to see a few teams back up. I'd love to see Sheffield Wednesday back up there.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Sunderland back up there. I'd love to see Portsmouth up there, Middlesbrough, Blackburn, the likes of these teams. You know, old school, when we were back in the early 2000s and you seen these teams rattling around the Premier League, you know, you'd be out the back garden, you'd be imagining yourself there, Martin Gams Pedersen hanging a free kick for Blackburn or something. But, you know, like, I'd love to see
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I'd love to see some of these teams back up there. But unfortunately, the way it goes, I think a lot of the teams that go down, they put so much into their first season. They're like, right, we will hold on to, bar if they have star players that the Premier League are sniffing about and want. Look at Leicester, probably they let very few of their players go and they just held everything together. And most teams will give it one season where we'll still pay these big wages. They all probably got cut 30-40% due to relegation anyway. We'll give it a blast and try and get straight back up, and then we'll be on the pigs back again.
It kind of goes to show how big of an achievement it was for Leicester to go from avoiding relegation to winning the league the following year. Like, you know,
massive. I was listening to a podcast the other day with Danny Simpson on it, and Danny Simpson said on the podcast, they were saying, what was your bonuses for winning the Premier League and all? And he said the owner bought them all a Mercedes-Benz each.
Yeah.
But he said we had no bonuses for winning the Premier League. We had no bonuses for getting into Europe. He goes, for getting into Europe. He goes, what was our thing? What were we going to do? We were after avoiding relegation on the second last day of the season or the last day of the season the year before. And what were we going to do? Rock into the owner's office and be like, here, we want bonuses for winning the league. He said he would have laughed at us. He said, I think, not Johnny Cash, but someone along the lines of Johnny Cash. He said, we were 5,000 to 1 to win the Premier League.
Yeah.
And not Johnny Cash, but someone along that lines. Someone that was dead or is pronounced dead, and there's rumors they mightn't be dead. They were 3,500 to 1 to make an appearance on TV that year. You know, so he goes, the bookies, he said the bookies were given more of a chance of someone coming back from the dead than us winning the Premier League. He goes, we didn't even have bonuses for like, maybe we might sneak into 6 or 7 to get into Europe or a decent cup run. We had bonuses for nothing, he said.
Nothing. Yeah. You get a bonus for staying up.
Yeah. £200.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, I think we'll leave it there, man.
Yeah, Jackie, no problem at all.
Appreciate you coming on as always. I enjoyed that now, I have to say. But like you said, we might do something like that next week, maybe signings, you know, and we'll do maybe a little bit of a review on that as well. I think we've got an international break coming up at the week after, so we might maybe do it one week. I'm actually away and I'm going to the United Liverpool game on Sunday. So
it's Paddy's Day next weekend anyway.
Paddy's Day as well. Yeah. But listen, thanks for coming on, man. And I'll chat to you during the week. All right. Take it easy.
No bother.
Thanks everybody for watching as well, guys. Smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Hit subscribe if you are new to the channel as well. Like I said, helps the channel out an awful lot. On the road to 8,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with the new show in the morning as always. Until then, have a good evening. Take care.